Jeans. Do not disturb. Also doesn't affect phone calls.
Okay.
So I put teens in do not disturb, and the phone calls still came through.
Josh. Yeah.
It's really a broken problem. Someone had suggested, someone I know in another IT department who's using, they're doing all of their phones through Teams as well. They suggested do not disturb, but that didn't work. It didn't work. Nope.
Less than a minute. Okay, it's 10. Whenever you're ready, we have form.
Okay. Are we recording? We're recording.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the August 3rd TAC meeting, Transit Advisory Committee for Mountain Line. We will start with the roll call.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the TAC. Coconino County, Tiffany Kerr.
I'm here.
Thanks. Coconino County Citizen Representative Carol Covington.
Also present.
Thank you. City of Flagstaff, Jeff Bowman.
Good morning, I'm here.
Morning. City of Flagstaff Citizen Representative Carlton Johnson. Are you with us, Carlton? See who's with.
Yep, he's in the waiting room. I let him in. Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Okay. City of Flagstaff Citizen Representative Carlton Johnson.
Here.
Great,
Is that what we're doing?
thank you. Metro Plan Dave Wetzel.
I'm here.
NAU Rafi Rivera.
Present.
Thank you. NAU student Maria Matchler.
Present.
Thank you. CCC Kurt Stoll.
Good morning, present.
Good morning. And Economic Development Representative Gail Jackson.
Here.
Thank you. We do have Chris Beecher, our Mountain Line attorney, on the line as well.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning. And we have members of staff here in the Vera room and on Zoom. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you, Ronnie. Thank you all for being here this morning. We're now going to our safety minute with Sam Short.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Transit Advisory Committee. Today's safety minute is on school zone safety. So each year, more than 56 million children travel from their homes to attend school by walking, biking, and taking the bus. Drivers must take precautions to account for increased traffic and dangers as children return to school. Roads will become congested during peak times, and school zones have become one of the leading causes of injuries and death for school-aged children. It's essential for drivers to practice safe driving habits when traveling near school zones to ensure children's safety. Here are some of these safe habits. Be on the lookout for school zones, especially if you are unfamiliar with the area. There are many types of pavement markings, school zone signs, and crosswalk barricades that should alert you to slow down and pay special attention to your surroundings. Expect more traffic in school zones. Drivers often make mistakes when they are caught in traffic, stressed, or running late. If you plan to travel to, near, or through a school zone, allow for additional time so you can slow down and get through the school zone safely. Reduce driving speeds in school zones. Since school zones are areas that are specially designed for student safety, drivers need to reduce their speed whenever they enter a school zone. Damages and injury resulting from an accident are reduced when vehicles are traveling at a lower speed. Be on the lookout for pedestrians and pedestrian crossings. Reduce your speed so you can stop quickly if needed. It is an excellent practice to anticipate pedestrians stepping into the roadway at any time from anywhere. Stop for school buses. It is illegal and very unsafe to pass a school bus that is stopped and has its stop sign extended. The extended stop sign means that children are either getting off or on the bus. These children could be going to or coming from any direction. Be sure to pay attention as you drive near school zones and yield the right of way to pedestrians and school buses. This should be done for any school, public, private, or whatever level. If you stay alert and focused, you can keep everyone around you safe this school year. Thank you and welcome to the August Transit Advisory Committee meeting.
Thank you, Sam. Yeah, school is starting all over the place and pay attention.
Yep.
Next on the agenda is the call to the public. Did we receive any requests for public comment?
No.
We do not have any requests for public.
If I may interrupt when you're done with this item, I would like to share milestones and it's not on the agenda.
Okay, we are gonna take a pause in the agenda and talk about some milestones. So Heather.
Thank you. Sorry, we added milestone anniversaries to our board agenda several months ago. And I thought it was important to add to our transit advisory committee meeting. We do take the opportunity to celebrate employees' anniversaries every year, but we have a program that recognizes what we call milestone anniversaries. And those are the first year anniversary, as well as 5-year increment anniversaries. And so in the month of July, we did have 2 employees that achieved milestone anniversaries. Mark Attenberger serves in our fleet division. He's our fleet supervisor, so he does a lot of the work orders and the bill paying and works with staff on scheduling issues. He's been with us for 15 years now, a real dynamic individual. If you came to the picnic or the barbecue in July, he was also our chief cook at the barbecue grill. So Mark is a dynamic individual enjoyed by many staff members. Jerry Holsworth is celebrating his 5th anniversary as a transit bus operator. Jerry came to us as a retiree looking for something to do, and he is a key component of our operations team, always here. He's very reliable and dependable and has good relationship and rapport with our riders. And so I'm happy to share these 2 milestone anniversaries with the Transit Advisory Committee.
Well, great, thank you, and I'd say congratulations to them, but congratulations to us for having them, be of such great service. So, anything else on milestones?
Thank you for letting me take that.
Okay, we're going to move into the TAC agenda and start with approval of the minutes from June 1st, 2023. Any questions or comments regarding the minutes? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
This is Carol. So moved.
Thank you, Carol. And a second?
This is Rafi with NAU, so moved.
Thank you, Rafi. Any further discussion on the minutes? We'll call for the question. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Hi.
Any opposed? Say nay. Hearing no objection, the minutes pass unanimously. Thank everybody. We do have some progress reports. I believe many of these are actually items that went before the board already. And they're there for your questions, the strategic plan, key performance indicators, and the cybersecurity policies. Actually, those were taken to the board with some of your input already, but are there any questions regarding key performance indicators? Great, so what was happened is they were adopted and will now be standard practice in terms of reporting on those. Cybersecurity policies, any questions regarding that policy update? Again, I think there was direction or advice from this body to adapt those for internal, external purposes. That was done and has gone to the board and been adopted. So good work, everybody. This takes us to item number 7, review of the draft board business agenda. And this is going to be the Heather Dowling show today, as some of the staff are out. We're going to start with item 7AI. How do I say it? The bus rapid transit project update. Heather?
Great, thank you. So I wanted to provide an update on a long-standing project we've had within Mountain Line's kind of priorities of transit programs to consider and fund. And I wanted to provide an update on where we are at with that project itself. So just some of you may not be familiar with this project. BRT is a very specifically identified type of transit program under the Federal Transit Administration. It usually includes dedicated busways to ensure that a bus moves like light rail without the expense of a dedicated light rail system. So we first conceived the bus rapid transit program in 2013. This is the original map that was developed to support that grant application that was submitted to the Federal Transit Administration. So you can see it served, went from Beulah Boulevard down south of Walmart all the way north to what is currently Northern Arizona Healthcare Facility. That would have been a high-performing transit system and alignment. It did include a significant amount of travel on Milton Road and would have required or dictated some changes to create, like I said, that dedicated way for bus to move through traffic. A timeline of events around the bus rapid transit system, as mentioned, 2013 is really when it came up in our 5-year transit plan. We did receive funding award in 2015 to really do some of the planning efforts around a BRT system. And also in 2015, it was introduced into the Federal Transit Administration's CIG, which stands for Capital Improvement Grant Program. That's a specific set aside funding for startups and new programs. In 2016, we received additional funding to continue the planning and engineering efforts. About the same time that we got that 2016 funding award, ADOT in 2017 initiated a Milton Road Corridor Master Plan. And then in 2018, we developed the project development plan to support this project. Some challenges that started occurring in 2017 and 18, as a result of things done in 2017 and 18, is first, the funding that we asked the voters for was not approved. So we did have a transit text question to support the BRT project, and that was not approved by the voters in November of 2018. Additionally, in 2020, the ADOT Milton Road Corridor Master Plan identified a no-build hybrid alternative for Milton Road that really limited those tools that would have allowed us to move forward with a BRT project. So things like dedicated busways, transit signal priority, pedestrian and bike crossings, those types of things were not going to be authorized by ADOT for the Milton Road corridor. And so really created some challenges. There are, I believe, still in process some ways to look at those things, but again, it's probably years away from being defined and put together. In 2021, we approached FTA and asked them to put the project on hold. So one challenge with the Federal Transit Administration funding, we're very grateful that our funds never lapse as long as you're showing progress on a project. We were unable to really move forward with that project with some of these challenges, no funding, and some of our limits on Milton Road. And then most recently, Northern Arizona Healthcare has come forward with a proposed relocation. And so if I go backwards again and look at that map, they were the anchor at the north end of this BRT project as it was proposed, and therefore, under the Federal Transit Administration, are considered a key component of the project. That proposed move likely means that we would have to start all over with our project at the FTA level. So I talked with our staff, as you all are aware, we have Flagstaff in Motion. This is the transit vision priorities from Flagstaff in Motion. We have started on the conversation about funding with our Citizen Advisory Committee. And in all of these conversations, the BRT has not been prioritized. So we are not looking at funding for this project. We are not looking to prioritize it in the next 5 years of transit improvement. So I did make the decision to notify FTA that we were withdrawing our project from the CIG program. I felt like this was a key component to ongoing good standing relationships with the Federal Transit Administration. Our withdrawal does not at all impact our ability to pursue future funding from FTA if we define another BRT project or redefine this BRT project. We can again pursue those funds, but this ensured that FTA can work with projects that are truly moving forward. We felt like it was the responsible thing to do. So this, that I really wanted to provide the update to the TAC and the board on the decision that was made internally and the communication that we've had with the Federal Transit Administration. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Heather. Do we have any questions for Heather from the committee?
This is Carol. I don't have a question, but I wanted to extend my thanks, having not been here, to know all of the background information that's taken place over the course of time. I was very grateful for the plethora of and chronology that were attached to the agenda that gave me the background to feel like I understand what's going on. So thank you to staff.
I'm glad that was useful. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Any other questions or comments? So I'll try to keep this brief. The Metro Plan's regional transportation plan, kind of sets a broad context for the region, and we work closely with our partners, including the city and county on their regional plan, and that's being updated right now. And it will be interesting to see what comes out of that. It's a 20-year horizon. Do we see out on the horizon the need for BRT? And how might that change? There's a lot of growth going on in the city right now. Things we're seeing densify, which is an important component of BRT. We also know that, through things like the Milton Corridor Plan and previous activities, there's not a big appetite for widening roads. And so, does BRT offer a community-supported solution in the future? There's some math you can do looking at how many cars a travel lane can carry, and then how much bus service you need to actually meet that. And it's fairly extensive, but there's a lot more to bus service, than just the carrying capacity. So I think as Metro Plan, this is part of our job to work with you in evaluating bus rapid transit for the future need and start setting things up for that long game. So thank you. I'll put it out to the committee. Any last comments or questions? All right, well, thank you, Heather. Let's go on to the next item, which is the Downtown Connection Center update. Heather, back to you.
All right. Well, I apologize. Anne is out today unexpectedly, so I am going to do my best to present the information that she did put in this presentation. And I'll apologize now for any facts or quality that I missed in providing her update. Staff felt like we hadn't been before the board and TAC in a while in the Downtown Connection Center, and it was a good time to do a check-in. So the Downtown Connection Center, just as a look backwards, it is being built in 2 phases. Building design and building construction is phase one, and we have completed design. Many of you were invited to and participated in the groundbreaking event. That building is now down. In fact, the site is being prepped for construction. We're going to go through some images on that here in a moment. Phase two has now been broken into two pieces. So originally phase two was going to be the build out of the bus bays and the true transfer center component of this improvement. It is contingent upon the Rio de Flag project the city of Flagstaff is working on. However, we've decided that we actually need to break it into two phases because we are bringing electric buses into our operations and we need to be able to charge at the connection center during this interim window while the city completes Rio de Flag. So we're going to go through some of those elements today. And then the last piece really to get to full operations at the new downtown connection center is we are working with ADOT on a potential light consideration at Milton Road and Phoenix Avenue. So currently all of our routes route around this intersection. We go out of our way to avoid it because so many of our routes need to turn south on Milton Road, and that would be crossing lanes of traffic at Phoenix Avenue. The light that we have proposed and that we are working on a traffic impact analysis for now would be a bus only signal. So it would be the buses talking to the light infrastructure. It would be signaled by the bus with the exception of a proposed pedestrian and bike access improvement that would be obviously triggered by folks in that crosswalk and signaling the light. But the only traffic that would be stopped in our proposed solution is the northbound traffic on Milton would allow the bus to cross either to turn southbound onto Milton or to turn eastbound onto Phoenix Avenue. The bus would then merge into the southbound traffic through a protected entry lane. That's probably a little more technical than I needed to get, and I don't have a visual for you, so I hope you could follow along. But we have just started that TIA work with Arizona Department of Transportation and our contractors. So an update on the construction is that we are working right now on value engineering. When the latest cost estimates came through, it's about $3 million more than we anticipated construction of phase one would cost us. So we are looking at what are the elements and how do we value engineer those elements and keep the things that we think are very important to the project. Things like snow melt for pedestrian safety and to reduce the operating cost of that facility. Permits, we do have our civil and grading permits. We are working right now on the permits needed for the building, the operations trailer, and so that's our break room for our staff operating out of that facility and ADOT encroachments. So the trailer we have specially built, it does contain 2 bathrooms. Normally construction trailers that are brought in for temporary facilities have a single bathroom. Due to what we're using it for, we really wanted our driver to have that ability to have 2 bathrooms. Sometimes they have 5-minute breaks and 7 people trying to access those facilities. Right now our staff is operating out of a bus and a very nice set of porta potties that are basically in a very nice trailer unit. They do have air conditioning and water. So they are nice porta potties, but they are still porta potties. So we're hoping that operations trailer permit, that's probably the thing we're working on the most right now. We'd like to get that trailer in right away. We are at about a 60-day delay on that operations trailer right now. It was anticipated by the end of May, and they're now saying the week of maybe August 18th for multiple reasons, including the permit process. So we did complete abatement and demolition, as I mentioned earlier. They have started work on the utilities, and then we are bringing in fill material from the city's Beulah Road expansion. I may be naming that project wrong, but that is the dirt and building material that they are moving out of the old ADOT site on South Milton. We have purchased that dirt for both our CDL project as well as this. It prevents the hauling of that dirt to a further distance, and it was to both of our benefits to reuse that material. So we were thankful for that relationship. So that's where we're at with the building. I just got a text from Ann this morning that we are about 60-day delay in seeing the building complete with a certificate of occupancy. We have been saying December of 2024, and the latest estimate is February of 2025. So here's some photos. This is looking northwest, I believe. So our bus bays are just off the right hand, our bus transfer center, sorry, is just off the right hand side of this imagery. So you can see the amount of material that they have stacked in the middle and are working to put in. You can see the trenching for the utility work on that perimeter. A couple more photos to see. So the one on the left is looking directly south. So that's the jack or the hub. Sorry, I don't know what it's called these days. The jack, thank you. So definitely making some progress. The contractors have been fabulous. We step up on our picnic table and look over pretty frequently. It's fascinating to watch the work that's happening, and we're very grateful. We will probably be sharing some building samples, material sampling. So we have done some really neat things inside this building. I'm sorry we don't have any imagery of that for you at this time, but we will be happy to share it. This building will have compressed lumber, timber in it. And we went down to Phoenix to see it. It is considered part of the zero emission. It's part of being sustainable. The certificate that we're looking to get from the county for building a building with sustainability standards. So it's important to overall the aesthetics of the building, but we'll be sharing some of those material at a future meeting with the TAC. But please let us know if you have questions. And then the last, it's not fast forwarding. This is that phase 2 interim EV. So I'm going to try and acquaint you with this drawing. So on the far left, that white box with the gray in it, that's the building that we just kind of looked at the rough ground of. The blue shaded areas are going to be where we hope the buses can continue to operate while Rio de Flag is happening. You can see the blue swoosh marks through this transfer center and then going south on Mike's Pike. That is the Rio de Flag component that will need to be done. Our understanding is where you see our buses in little red squares on top of the gray above the blue shaded area. That's where we currently operate. That's also some of the city's parking. All of that is supposed to be in phase 2 of Rio de Flag. So our understanding is that we should be able to continue to operate there. We are working on contingency plans. The red shaded area is phase 1 of the Rio de Flag. Again, just trying to acquaint you to some of the limitations on the site. So we do need to put in electric charging. We want to be cautious about how much we invest in the electric charging. It will then just get later torn back out. Although the equipment can be reused, it's a lot of investment to put it in the ground and then tear it out later. So we are looking at that those blue shaded areas is where we're looking at putting those charging infrastructure, because we think long-term we would still be able to use that infrastructure when it is built there or build upon it, and it's not a total sunk cost in our efforts to charge our vehicles. So again, we're trying to stay out of the Rio, both phase 1 and phase 2, and potentially reduce how much cost is lost in doing it now and then having to redo it later. So I will pause. I know that was a complicated description. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Questions for Heather? All right, excited to see the progress that's being made. Glad to see the contingency plans being put into place. And carry on.
Awesome.
All right, the next item on the agenda is an update regarding the commercial driver's license, CDL, training and testing facility. Heather.
All right, so again, with Ann out and I will do my best. So the CDL training and testing program did result in some road access improvements. I'm not sure if our last update to the TAC board included that we had assessed the road access to the site and determined with NAU that we needed to do some things to improve the conditions and the safety of that mixed use roadway. The CDL course itself, we've removed trees, we've hauled in again some of that Beulah fill materials, and they have started the grading. We did have to complete a minor update for water line, but it wasn't significant to the project or the budget, to the project timeline or the budget. And we are tracking to start pouring the lots and lots of concrete that will be required for this course in mid-August. The road access itself, they have milled the driveway for replacement, and they're tracking to complete that later this month. Again, all of this was done in partnership with Northern Arizona University because these are leased spaces to Mountain Line from NAU. So here's some photos of the progress. As you will recall, this is all being done on a property that is in and around those power lines. It was a compatible use because of that. They couldn't really do vertical development. So this made it a great way to use this property. And its proximity to road access is great. So Mountain Line, NAU, and a partnership with CCC will allow all three of us to use this for workforce development. We have talked to the city of Flagstaff as well as Coconino County about desired use by those entities to do training and retraining for their staff members as well. As we get closer to completion of this, Mountain Line is likely to add back our third-party tester. So right now, we do not have a third-party tester on staff, and that is someone licensed by the Arizona Motor Vehicle Department to perform the CDL testing and certification of licensing for folks who complete training. That existed in our prior operations manager who left about 18 months ago now. We didn't really have a spot for him to do testing, and so we really felt like it was a good idea to wait and align it with the opening of the. We're hoping that overall this really moves us forward with improving the CDL availability of employees with CDLs in our community, because we know that Mountain Line's not the only one that continues to struggle with people in that field. So a couple of things just on the CDL itself. We will own and maintain the CDL course. We're splitting the cost 50-50 with NAU, and that's after we apply the grant that we have for construction of that project. And then for the maintenance going forward will be 50-50. We will have a fee structure that allows us to collect a fee for use of the facility, and we are collecting what we will need for operating and maintenance when it is used in those circumstances. And we are looking at a committee to develop and update the procedures on how to schedule and access, and then also project that operating and maintenance cost for those agreements. And that's my very brief update on the commercial driver's license training and testing facility.
Thank you, Heather. Any questions for Heather?
Again, this is Carol. I was not entirely clear where this is located. Could you give me a pointer? I see the picture, but I don't have any points of reference.
Absolutely. So this is behind, I believe the building is the asset management building. So this is on, I saw Rafi unmute. This is on South Campus, across the street from the dome. So south of the dome, the building that's used there for, I think, parking and storage of vehicles, and I know asset management, and it's directly behind it. So to the east side of this improvement is Lone Tree.
And immediately south of it is I-40.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? I do have one. Given the cost increase and need for value engineering for the DCC, are you facing any similar challenges with the CDL course?
We were very fortunate that this project was funded twice. It was funded through a competitive funding application and through an earmark from one of our senators. And we're very grateful because it did allow us to accommodate the 60% cost change for concrete that this project experienced. So it has had its cost challenges. And there's not much to value engineer because this is 3 lanes, concrete and curb. There have been some costing challenges, and we're very grateful that we have the opportunity to just keep getting it done because of that duplication of funding. So the project is well under the funding that we have available for it at this time.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, last shot for the CDL questions. Once, twice.
I have a question.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Good job.
Thanks.
Who's up?
Thanks. There you go.
It's Gail. Can I ask a question about the concrete that's being poured for the lanes on the
Yes.
course? The reason I'm asking this question is we're working with 2 different companies that have a new sustainable concrete thing, and they're looking at potential places that they could utilize that. And I'm just wondering if there would be any synergy here, or does it have to be concrete?
So I'm gonna answer with a deferment. I apologize. Ann is not here and she would know the more specific details about that. Our contractor is Kenny Construction Services. And it is, they brought the subs to the project. So we will get back with you on an answer on that. I don't know how far they are towards making those purchases and if there's still an opportunity or if that was already evaluated. I don't know the answer, Gail, but we will get back to you.
Perfect. Thanks. Thanks for considering.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Well, thank you, Heather. I guess this will move us on to item 4, the transit tax initiative update. And is Jackie here? Jackie is here.
Hello. Thank you very much, members of the TAC. Pardon me. We wanted to give you an update on our potential November 2024 transit tax initiative, as November 2024 seems simultaneously very far away and also in some aspects seems like tomorrow. So we wanted to kind of let everybody know where we are in our process to potentially ask City Council to put something on the ballot. So just a little bit of background that I think some of you know, but I just want to make sure and set the stage. So Mountain Line went to the voters in 2016 to renew our base transit tax, which is 29.5 cents on a $100 purchase. We went to the voters in 2016 and it was approved. So which means that although we went in 2016, that tax did not start until 2020 and it's a 10-year tax. So it sunsets in 2030. We always try to go early, 4 years early, giving us a chance. If we do fail, we would have another chance to go back. And then we went back to the voters in 2018 with a transit tax increase, requesting additional funding for additional levels of service. And that effort was unsuccessful by fewer than 300 votes. So it was a very close one, but it was unsuccessful. So we we still have the 29.5 cents, did not increase it. Fast forward, and you have all received several presentations over the last 2 years from my colleague Busy on our Flagstaff in Motion 5-year transit plan that identified transit improvements that our community is interested in. And as mentioned, I believe probably several times during her presentations, those are unfunded improvements. So they are things that we vetted through the community, vetted through the process that we believe that people want as far as improving transit service, but they are not possible within our current budget situation. So in order to achieve any of those service improvements, we would need additional funding. Flagstaff in Motion also looked at funding mechanisms. So, what are possible ways that we could increase our funding for operations? As a reminder, we have incredible grant writing and we've been very successful with our grant writing, but those are not dollars that can be used for operations. So we need ongoing funding for operations. So this plan looked at all sorts of funding mechanisms, and really within the state of Arizona and the framework that we have, the things that we have available to us, a sales tax is really the most viable option out of the ones that were looked at. So we put together a citizens advisory committee that has met 2 times to look at what, if anything, we would like to ask city council to place on the November 2024 ballot. And if we do, what those questions, is it one question, is it multiple questions, what could it look like? Also looking at knowing that our current 29.5-cent tax will sunset in 2030. So follow the bouncing ball here. We go in November 2024 for a transit tax increase. We would then have to go back in 2026 to try and get that base 29.5 cents renewed. It seems probably not like the best idea, very confusing to voters, things along those lines. So vetting, do we want to go back in 2024 for that renewal as well? So this Citizens Advisory Committee is made up of representatives from education, nonprofit, business, government, local government. It's been a really dynamic group. They've met twice. The first meeting, we really presented Flagstaff in motion, so they had an understanding of what are potential transit improvements. And the second meeting really went over our budget situation. Where does our money come from? What is our outlook for the future as far as our future budget scenario? And quite honestly, our future budget scenario, if we want to even just keep performing at the level of service we have today, the 29.5 cents isn't enough in the future. Things start to go down as our costs continue to increase. So they're evaluating that. Concurrently, we did a procurement for it was a dual procurement to get agencies that would provide research and polling, a very important component of this, as well as public voter education. I think everybody here knows, but just worth mentioning that as the government agency, we cannot advocate for if there is something on the ballot related to transit tax. We can educate, we can tell you this is what you will get if you vote yes, but we cannot tell you to vote yes. So if everything we do is education based. So we put out that procurement. We ended up doing a dual award on it. So the research and polling was awarded to Global Local Visions, which is a local company headed by Fred Solop, who worked at NAU for many years, and Nancy Wonders, who also worked at NAU for many years. They have been contracted by Mountain Line many times over the last, I'm going to say 15 years to conduct this type of voter survey work on our behalf, and have been great partners and very accurate in their typically the level of support that we see prior or lack of support that we see prior to an election plays out in the election almost exactly to what they say it's going to be. And then we also awarded the public education campaign to a company called Lumen Strategies. They are based out of Phoenix. They do a lot of great work. They actually worked with CCC on their recent successful initiative, property tax, sorry, their tax initiative that was last May, I believe. So they have done some local work and have just a great company that understands the public education side of it, how to reach voters with the messaging that we are allowed to reach them with. So we've had a couple of meetings with that group as well, and we're getting ready to field our first likely voter survey. We'll actually go out into the field. It's a phone survey out next week. And so this survey is really this initial one. There will be more survey work. It's, we're still a year plus out from the election. So it's really, everything is going to be taken with a grain of salt, I think, at this point, and we would have to really hone in a little more. I mean, once we know which candidates are on the ballot, what other measures might be on the ballot, things along those lines. So this first survey is really gauging general quality of life in Flagstaff and impressions about Mountain Line. That's always important to us to see, what do you think about Mountain Line before we ask you if we can have, if you want us to have more money, we want to know what you think about us. We're also field testing those questions of renewing the current tax at a higher rate. Would you be, for lack of a better term, would you be willing to pay more to get the exact same service you're getting today? So seeing voter sentiment on that. And then we ask about increasing the tax by various percentages to fund those service improvements. So looking at different levels and where support or lack of support presumably dies off, and where that threshold is as far as that percentage increase. Also testing out some messaging around potential reasons to increase the transit tax. So there's a lot of reasons that are very near and dear to a lot of Flagstaff voters' hearts: climate action, congestion, things along those lines. So seeing which of those messages might resonate more with voters. And then the preferences on one large question, like, do you want to be asked for this like renewal plus 15%? I'm making that up here, but do you want to be asked all of that in one question, or do the voters prefer to kind of make some choices like between various levels of service improvements? We're still filling that out with the city on the legality of a question that is one question that has kind of multiple parts to it versus several or a couple different questions. So we're still working on the city with that. So we'll present those survey results to the Citizens Advisory Committee in September, and likely to our board and TAC in October or November, depending on probably November. I apologize because October is in advance. And the goal would be for there to be a recommendation from the Citizens Advisory Committee to our board on what they believe should be put on the ballot. And then in turn, our board would ask Flagstaff City Council to put that on the ballot. Flagstaff City Council usually, I don't believe, decides on what will go on the ballot until later in 2024, late spring, early summer. But we would need to start our public education before then. So we would be looking to get some head nods before they officially vote on what goes on that ballot in November of 2024. So that we could begin our work of educating the public on what we'd be asking for, if anything. So that is where we stand right now with the potential November 2024 initiative, and I am happy to answer any questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Jackie. Questions for Jackie?
I have a clarifying question because I'm curious on the base tax. So I would think your costs are going up, but at the same rate, spending elsewhere would go up. So it would keep up with itself. What's not keeping up with the base tax and the services you need from that?
The base tax was established, and Heather might need to step in and correct me if I'm wrong here, in 2008. Heather, that is correct, right?
So the base tax was actually established in 2000. It was renewed and expanded in 2008, but it was expanded for expansion of services and for capital programs. I can't say that it was really expanded to reflect the inflation between 2000 and 2008 for cost. But even at that, the 2008 rate, Josh, our management services director, put together a side-by-side that was shared with the CAC. And in 2008, the minimum wage was half of what it is today. So that was a major change in our cost of services. And so yes, you are right, Carlton, in that the revenues are increasing because there are more expenses in our neighborhood, and we are in our community, sorry, and we are a rate-based tax, right? So if it was $1 for gas, that's bad. If it was $1 for a can of soda in 2008, and it's $2 for a can of soda in 2024, you're right, we're gonna collect the taxes on $1 more, but it's not keeping up with the pace of expenses growth. We do have a slide that shows that, and we would be happy to share that. But it truly is a function of, and it's not tomorrow, but it is outpacing. So slowly the costs are approaching the revenues, and before we reach 2040, they definitely cross over, which means that if we don't receive an expansion, we don't receive an increase for current services, we will have to start looking at how to reduce programs. And that is based on an assumption that cost will continue to escalate. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, thanks. Labor's gone up more than spending, basically.
The three major contributors to our cost changes that I don't think any of us anticipated in 2008 growing at the rate they have. Fuel is, I think it's 175% higher, and it's about $1 million of our operating $9 million budget. Wages have doubled, and wages was 50% of our operating cost in 2008. It's 82% of our operating cost in 2024. And then the other major contributor is our liability insurance. Liability insurance has increased by 350% in the last 5 years alone. And unfortunately, we're seeing that market continue to get worse. And that's not Mountain Line's claim history, just to clarify. We take great pride in our claim history. It is a change in the market. It's a change in how many insurance companies are out there for public agencies and how many are participating in transit programs specifically, which is generally thought of as a high risk scenario.
Interesting.
Thanks.
Those are the three major cost changes.
Good question and excellent answer. Any other questions for Jackie? So Jackie, I do have a question for you regarding the messaging, and it's a question followed by context. So give me a moment. So the question is, did your legal staff and or city legal staff review the messaging in the survey? And the context is, in 2018, there was, I thought, a very good message that said, you know, the whole idea that frequency is like a gate in your driveway that allows you to pull out and, when you want to, but imagine that is only can open 30 minutes or 20 minutes or 60 minutes. And I think maybe the word freedom or something was associated with it. And city legal said, no, that crosses the line into advocacy. So I'm wondering, has there been this review of messaging relative to that line of information versus advocacy?
Thank you for the question. I would say we're not there yet. So this first survey is going to be really high level and just test out some higher level concepts of messaging. So like, the fact that it's been 90 degrees for the last month, does that, that climate messaging sway you? Or does the fact that, it takes me 25 minutes to get up Milton, things along those lines. So looking at more of that higher level, what are the things that resonate with voters when it comes to the messaging? So we will definitely, and I think we are, any ballot question, we are beholden to a review by city legal. And, I think it will, the education campaign, that the election 2018, we obviously worked very close with the city because we had 3 transportation related ballot elements. I don't know that it will be the same this year. So I think, Heather and I will definitely figure out the best way to coordinate and make sure that we are, not crossing that line. That's absolutely the last thing that we want to do. We're very, very careful about not crossing that line.
Great, thank you. Any other questions for Deputy General Manager Jackie Leonard? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to the next item on the agenda, progress reports. These are available for your review, and I will just kind of walk through them topically and see if there's any questions. So the annual safety report, any questions for staff regarding the safety report? Am I doing this right?
You're doing.
Okay. Battery electric bus update. Any questions regarding the buses?
Can I just jump in and
Okay.
share
Please
that
do.
staff just spent 2 days in Minnesota inspecting the new flyer vehicle, and we anticipate it will be on property next week. So we're very excited.
Excellent, that is exciting. It is exciting. The bus stop rehabilitation program. Any questions regarding that annual program? I will ask a quick question, just kind of, maybe this is too big and get back to you on this. Kind of life cycle of these stops. You know, and you guys do great in maintenance and rehab of the shelters. Are they holding up well?
They actually are holding up better than we anticipated, and it's a great segue. We are, in October is going to be our next joint meeting, or advanced, if you will.
Okay.
And we are going to spend most of that advance talking about bus stops, bus shelters, and our programs.
Okay, looking forward to it. Next item is the annual fleet report. Any questions on that fleet report? Okay. Delegation
Dave.
of authority. Oh, back up.
This is Carol again.
Yeah.
I didn't have any questions about it, but I, once again, was very grateful for the detailed information, excuse me, as it gave me a bigger picture of what the fleet consists of and than I had before. And so I wanted to, once again, express my gratitude for that.
Carol, thank you for that. I think it is, you know, kind of human nature almost to raise questions when there are issues. And if you go too long with just hearing about the issues and not hearing that, hey, all that stuff we haven't been talking about is actually very well reported on and looking good, you start to maybe question yourself as staff. So I encourage everyone, if there's something that you particularly like, just to do like Carol did and give some kudos to staff. I think that's good for everybody to hear. So delegations of authority. No questions there. And then summary of current events. Did you want to actually report on something?
I do, yes.
Heather.
So we have plenty of time, so I would like to take this opportunity to share a couple of current events with you, and I put some photos in here to help with some of these. So first, I want to point out the first thing in the staff report is that we have introduced a call center. So Mountain Line has handled all of our call reservations for as long as I can remember, or as long as I've been here. And we have this opportunity with our contractor to shift those calls to them and their call center. So that went live on the 1st of August. So we are on day 3 of that new service, and it's going very well. We do have a nice, what we call phone tree. So if there are concerns or problems, we are able to work with the contractor, we're able to work with the client to resolve those quickly. And the good news is that ultimately we are saving about 1 full-time position with this transfer to the call center. And we are going to be able to use that salary savings to introduce another in-field support position. So looking forward to this pilot program so that we can ensure that it is working and working well for our customers as well as our staff before we make those changes. But very excited to see this pilot move forward so that we can get some data about our call center, which we've never had before. What you can see up on the screen is actually some new bus stops that we have added. So we are looking at our fall schedules. So we're looking at going back to full service to serve schools, etc. But as part of that, we've introduced these 2 new bus stops. They actually are in operation now. The left-hand side of the screen is the westbound stops on Huntington. And sorry, I think I said that wrong. These are the eastbound stops on Huntington. And then across the street on the westbound side on Huntington at the APS building, to give you a kind of focal point for where these stops are located. They are not immediately across from each other. We do have a challenge of serving this location because of the curve and the line of sight on this road for traffic, and there is no pedestrian crossing nearby. It's at the light at Huntington and Industrial and Butler, you know, that intersection there on the west end, and then it's all the way back near the Outback Steakhouse and Cracker Barrel.
The Lucky Lane signal.
Yes, I couldn't remember the street name. Thank you very much. The trigger for these additions is really the transition housing that Flagstaff Shelter Services is opening off of Lucky Lane. So we are on the backside of that transitional housing. And I did have a driver report that they had 6 people say, wait a minute, you have a stop here? And they were so excited because they have been traveling that additional 1.5 miles down the road and walking back to their actual destination. So we're excited to see these stops go in. I will add one caveat, these are temporary stops. We know that we need to work with the city and address the concerns about pedestrian crossing before we make long-term improvements at this location.
Okay.
We also worked with our neighbors. This is the north side of our building. The fence line that you see is actually the Mount Eldon villas. That they contacted us about material between their property and ours. This is our land. So we have helped build a fire line, if you will, by removing plants and debris along this. And I will say, the HOA manager called us and it was within days that our team had completed this work. So very grateful to our facilities team that took that concern seriously and made this improvement. I don't know how many bags of needles and plant life were removed, but we're very glad to be working with our neighbors, important part of what we do here in our community. So thanks to Jeremiah and his team for getting this work done.
How recent was that?
This was done within the last couple of weeks.
Okay, I think I saw some of your crew out there.
Yes, we had big roll-away trailers that were brought in. I want to say they have 3 or 4 of them. Moving on, another stop improvement that we were able to make, we received a public comment via email from someone who had observed people standing at this location. This is a stop on Route 5. Route 5 does offer 60-minute frequency. So if you miss that bus, you will be standing at this stop sign potentially for up to an hour. It does not qualify under our transit guidelines for shelters and improvements. But we did have a bench and we have gone out and at least installed that while we consider what other improvements we can make. And that's really what they had asked for. Can we have a seat to wait at this stop? So we were very glad to work with the Peaks on Route 5 to get this bench put in place. And again, our facilities team reacted quickly to that request and accommodated it within days. A couple other things before I move on to staffing updates. We did go ahead and apply for funding for phase 2 of the Downtown Connection Center. So that's the transit bus lanes and transfer center points, as well as solar improvements across all of that property. So that was another $12 million ask for that. We applied for those funds through the Arizona Department of Transportation's federal 5307, 5339 competitive funding application. So that was just submitted last month. It could be several months before we hear, but congratulations to Estella and Mitch and really the team members who helped support them in making that application.
A quick question on that. Does that address any of the $3 million shortfall you addressed earlier?
No.
Okay, thank you.
And I want to be clear on the DCC, we are value engineering for $3 million because we think there's room to move that dollar. But if we cannot, we do have the capacity for that $3 million.
Okay.
Not a true shortfall, but the more I can make sure I'm value engineering that facility, the more funding I have left within this project for phase 2.
Excellent. Okay, thank you for that clarification.
So a couple of things for staffing. We have 2 promotions I'd like to share with you. Dave Doss. Dave Doss was promoted to operations manager. That position's been vacant since December of 2021. And a little bit about Dave, he started working for Mountain Line in March of 2021 as an operator. He recently was promoted to he was promoted first to operations supervisor in May of 2022. and then assistant operations manager in November of 2022, and now this new promotion. Very excited to have Dave fill this key position. He did work for a short period of time for Valley Metro down in the Valley as an operations supervisor as well. We're excited to have him here and be able to take advantage of some new ideas he's bringing, and really creative solutions to some of our recruitment and retention needs. So very excited to have Dave and some fresh eyes on some of our situations and new ideas. So congratulations to Dave. He's the individual on the left. The individual on the right is Sheldon Yazzie. Sheldon started with Mountain Line early on in COVID. I'm trying to get my note up here. Sheldon was promoted to HR generalist. He was an HR technician. He actually started as a limited appointment, moved into a part-time position in 2021, and then more recently moved into the HR generalist position. And I will tell you, we lost both of our HR positions within months of each other in late 21 into 2022. And Sheldon just kept picking up work. He just kept doing a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. When he started with us, he said, I only want to work part-time. We convinced him to work full-time, and now he is an HR generalist, and he in our recruitment, he has set up our new employee orientation programs. He's engaging applicants almost the day they submit their application. We've seen a real change in how many people we get all the way into our training program due to Sheldon's efforts. So I'm very glad to see Sheldon recognized for his work efforts with this promotion to HR generalist. He stepped in, and we were very grateful for that and appreciative of Sam's ability to make this change for his position.
So just if I may, just want to affirm everything you just said about Sheldon. You know, I've had several interactions with him. He's always a pleasure to work with, and always very responsive and constructive in terms of the service he provides. So
Thanks for that.
congratulations to Sheldon. Well deserved.
We continue to look at all of our different programs. So a couple of things from the staff report in your packets. So the October employee survey results revealed that staff really looked forward to and appreciated in-person meetings. And I'm pleased to announce that through the work of Dave and Kim Lisinski, our scheduler, we were able to schedule 85% of our staff at in-person meetings in July. And I will tell you, that was no small feat. We continue to be short-staffed. We had a number of departures over the summer that we did not anticipate, of people leaving the community, but they stuck to those in-person meetings. They got them scheduled, and we got 85% of people to attend them. So I'm grateful for Kennedy's efforts to get that scheduled. And I know staff are appreciative of the opportunity for that in-person meeting again. We will stick to a schedule now of getting those done. I think we're going to start with a goal of every 6 months, but hope we'll return to every 3 months, so once a quarter, in-person meetings for all staff. We also did what we are affectionately calling Mountain Line 101 training. This is a training course that was developed through our contractor TransPro, and it was focused on the tie of employees to Mountain Line's why, our mission, our vision, and our new core values. We did have really good turnout. I think we had 18 staff out of our 90 not participate for scheduling reasons, or they were out on leave. So our HR team is now taking that training and incorporating it into our new employee orientation. And it was a great way to kick off that refresher training that we are going to be focusing on this year. So thank you to the board and the TAC for input that really updated our vision and our core values. It was a great opportunity to talk with our team members and renew the energy on Mountain Line's why. We'll continue to incorporate the why into our evaluations, into our staff meetings, and reiterate how we are all connected to that mission, that vision, and our core values. We did hold our summer barbecue on July 20th, and I want to acknowledge that both Carol and Carlton attended that event, and we're so grateful that you could be with us. Andy Burleson also stopped by for a few minutes. It was really good. We had probably the best turnout we've had since pre-COVID for people to get together. Our fleet team cooked burgers and hot dogs. They actually prepared all of the food. They shopped for a lot of it, but it was a great event. Lots of happiness. There was a jump pad and axe throwing. So if you didn't come, you missed your opportunity to throw an axe in a safe cage environment, right, Sam? So really a good time. We look forward to, we do 2 events a year. So our next one will be around Christmas time. So we'll be in touch with you about that event as it gets closer. A couple other anniversaries. I know we celebrated some milestones earlier in the meeting, but these are staff that have other anniversaries that occurred in both July and August. John Mathis, our IT manager, who was on the line, may still be on the line, celebrating 17 years with Mountain Line. Andy Brown, a transit bus operator, 11 years. And then 2 employees celebrating their first year with Mountain Line, Jose Peralta and Maria Cardenas. Maria is serving in our paratransit role. Jose can serve in both roles. So very grateful for both of those team members in our operations division. Remember, I said we always lose staff over the summer, and you can tell that by looking at our August anniversary list. So August is a big hire month for us, and we continue to see that pattern. So we have a number of anniversaries to celebrate. Marco is celebrating 1 year. Marco, it does serve as an operations supervisor and an operator. So he serves in both of those roles interchangeably. Really great with the public, very calm person in our field. So Andrea Petrucci serves as our document control specialist. She gets the joy of deciding when documents get destroyed, and we don't know where we'd be without her. Probably with a lot of servers. Mackenzie is a comeback employee. Mackenzie worked for us years ago and returned a year ago in our operator position and is celebrating her first anniversary as a returned employee. Russell Beck started out as an operator 6 years ago and is now serving as an operations supervisor. I don't think I've ever met anyone as happy as Russell. To be quite honest with you, you can count on Russell for a smile every day. Greg Lyons is serving as a mechanic 3. That's a promotion for him. We talked about that a couple months ago, but Greg has been here in our mechanic division for over 12 years. Jeremiah McVicker is our maintenance manager with 6 years with Mountain Line. Jeremiah did start out as an operator and has gone through various positions here. Donovan Walker started out as a temp staff member doing bus detailing at the beginning of COVID. And Donovan now celebrates 3 years with Mountain Line and is a transit bus operator. We're very excited to have him in our team. Wallace, like Russell, regularly has a smile for anyone in his vicinity. He is a really great person to have around, makes the rounds in the building to say hello to everybody on a regular basis. And Wallace is celebrating his 2nd anniversary. And Mason, I remember meeting Mason in his new employee orientation because he serenaded us with a song, and it was quite lovely. He's celebrating his first year with us, and we're very grateful. One thing before we move on is I want to share a little bit about what we call our 100 Club. There was one hanging note at the bottom of your staff report. So we recently introduced the 100 Club to recognize staff that receive a 100% rating on their behind the wheel evaluation. So behind the wheel evaluation is performed several times a year at random. So staff don't know when they're going to be selected for this evaluation. We actually use video surveillance to do at least half of the evaluations, so they don't even know we're watching. We had 8 drivers recognized in our first 100 Club evaluation, and that's roughly 20% of the evaluation. We evaluated roughly 20% of our staff. 50%, these 8 people were identified as having 100% performance, and I will note that 50% of the people also have been here less than 2 years. So there's evidence that our training program works. Yeah. And so I'd like to congratulate Ruben De La Luz, Richard Fox, Donald Palmer, Nick Johnson, Clarice Claremont, Rich Philippe, Jerry Holsworth, which we just recognized his 5-year anniversary, and Dave Schweiger, all for receiving 100% ratings. Staff who receive the 100% rating up to 2 times per year are eligible for an additional bonus. So again, we keep trying to find ways to recognize staff who are going above and beyond the minimum qualifications for their job. So glad to share that with you. And the last thing that I will share with you is Mountain Line was awarded another Bus and Bus Facilities Award. And this is the funding that was used for the Downtown Connection Center. We received notice in late June that we were going to receive $16.5 million to rehabilitate and remodel our Caspar facility when we move into the new Downtown Connection Center to improve our maintenance abilities. So our 60-foot buses do not fit in our garage to be maintained or worked upon. They are worked half in and half out of the shop, flipped around and done the other half. But that leaves the garage open, that leaves our staff exposed to the elements. So very excited. Congratulations to our team who wrote that grant award. But that's another very large award for Mountain Line from our Federal Transit Administration for a much needed facility improvement. That award did result in an announcement that Senator Sinema will be visiting Mountain Line next week. It is not to be a public event, but she's here to recognize that funding award and additionally to hold a roundtable conversation about the impacts of the IIJA or BIL funding impacts to our community. So the city of Flagstaff and Coconino County elected officials have been invited to talk about the impacts of those money. And right now, the representatives that will be attending are Mayor Daggett, Councilmember Sweet, and Supervisor Vasquez. Will be joining us to thank the senator for her support and participate in that conversation. And we'll have more to report after her visit. And with that, Mr. Russell, is everything I got?
It sounds like progress on our progress reports. So thank you. Heather, any questions on any of the progress report items? Okay. So this is time for items from committee and staff. We'll start with announcing our next TAC meeting, Thursday, September 7th, at which I won't be your chairman if all things work out. Items from any committee members of kind of general knowledge that the group needs to know, or items that they would like to see on agenda, anything from committee members?
This is Carol again. I don't have any items to offer, but I know Rhonda told me what D and A mean. And I think A is action, but I don't remember any longer what D is.
Discussion action.
Okay.
Or just discussion.
You know, I'm wondering, because I'm
don't
such
worry
a
about it.
dolt and I can never remember it. Is it possible to put that at the bottom of the page and just say D equals discussion, A equals action? Then I won't have to keep asking. Thank you, Rhonda. I
Carol.
really appreciate it.
I'm gonna bet you're not the only one who's wondering. It's like, well, Heather D, that's Heather Donaldson, right? And okay, any other questions, comments, perhaps events that we need to know of from the committee? Okay, I'm not hearing anything, so items from staff that we ought to be aware of besides what we see on the agenda.
Just one thing.
Yes,
Thank you for serving as chair today. We appreciate you.
very welcome. Glad to do it.
That's all I got.
Okay, well, we can just sit around and chat for the next 43 minutes, or you can have that time back. We're adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Great job. Thank you, Heather.